We are seeing a seminal moment in American political history tonight as President Biden ends his re-election campaign. He is quitting and now out of the race. What he had to say upon backing out. Reaction pouring in from across the political spectrum and right here in the DMV. A look at how we got here. Plus, the president also throwing his endorsement to Vice President Kamala Harris. But will the Democratic Party agree? The path forward and a look at the race now.
Seven News on your side at 6:30 starts now.
We begin with that breaking news. President Biden has ended his campaign for re-election, drawing an end to his administration's bid for another 4 years in office. I'm Scott Thuman. Thank you for joining us for this special coverage. The president making that announcement today by posting a statement on X in which he outlined the achievements of his administration, but then went on to say that, quote, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve you as president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." And all of this is happening while the president is in Delaware at his Rehoboth Beach house recovering from a case of COVID-19. The president saying that he will address the nation later this week, presumably after he fully recovers from his illness. The president then went on to offer his endorsement to Vice President Kamala Harris. This as questions swirl over who will succeed him as the Democratic nominee for the White House. The president in another statement online saying, "My very first decision as the party nominee back in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it has been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it is time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this." And following the president's dramatic decision, Vice President Kamala Harris released a statement thanking Biden for his endorsement. She wrote, "With this selfless and patriotic act, President Biden is doing what he has done throughout his life of service, putting the American people and our country above everything else. I'm honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." All of this coming after President Biden's campaign took a tailspin in a matter of about 3 weeks. Tonight, we take a look back at how it all came undone. It was June 27th when the candidates met on the stage to debate. The 81-year-old often trailed off and sometimes gave nonsensical answers. Biden's disastrous performance led to the first Democratic lawmaker publicly calling on him to step down on July 2nd. More lawmakers joined the chorus, and the president held his first solo press conference in months on July 11th, addressing the mounting concerns, but vowing to stay in the race. Then, former President Donald Trump surviving an assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania. Biden condemned the violence and called for unity. Then just days ago, July 17th, California Congressman Adam Schiff becomes the highest profile lawmaker to call on Biden to drop out of the race. Numerous Democrats then chimed in as well, voicing concerns that Biden's candidacy would impact races up and down the ticket. That same day, President Biden testing positive for COVID-19, ratcheting up concerns about his age and his health. He canceled events in Nevada and traveled to Delaware to self-isolate at home. Then today, the announcement that he was suspending his campaign finally came. And the president was facing an uphill battle with his re-election campaign. As you can see from these poll numbers, a majority of voters wanted Biden to drop out, roughly 2/3 of voters in one poll. Below that, even newer numbers there show the doubt about Biden had grown to 70%. So how will voters react to a potential Kamala Harris-Donald Trump matchup? As you can see from the numbers here, President Biden was trailing former President Trump only slightly, but in a Reuters Ipsos poll, Harris is actually running even with the former president, although that poll was taken obviously before this latest twist in the campaign. And it stands to be seen if she can get the Democratic Party to unify behind her. It is also unclear how the general electorate will respond to her as the presumptive nominee for this party. Obviously, the impact of this pivotal moment in history is still being measured, but the reaction is pouring in from across the political spectrum. And right now, many people are speaking about the shocking nature of the president's decision. Others are asking what this means for the campaign moving forward. Carl Willis has been digging through those responses and is here with more. Carl.
Yes, Scott, so many political leaders are weighing in tonight, many taking a stance of support for President Biden's decision and for Vice President Harris, others questioning Biden's ability to lead. Now, one of those who is critical tonight is Republican Senate candidate Hung Cao of Virginia, who posted, "If you can't run, then you can't serve. Resign." His opponent, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, praised President Biden as a patriot who always puts the needs of our country ahead of himself, and write that he's looking forward to working with Kamala Harris and a great ticket mate to keep Virginia blue. In D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser posting a picture with Vice President, writing, quote, "Our next president supports D.C., our autonomy, and D.C. statehood. Vote like everything we hold dear depends on it." And in Maryland, for governor and former governor and Senate candidate Larry Hogan wrote that he respects President Biden's decades of public service and believes that he made the right choice, saying that he should be commended for putting country ahead of personal ambition. Then writes that we need less partisan nonsense and more decisive action to solve the nation's problems. And tonight we are hearing from Maryland Governor Wes Moore as well, who's been mentioned as a possible replacement on the Democratic ticket. Now, he praised Biden, writing, quote, "This is a man deeply in love with his family, his country, and the promise of America. As a governor, I look to him as an exemplar of true leadership." Now, former President Trump not as complimentary on the president's decision to bow out of the race. Trump posted on social media on Truth Social, calling Biden unfit to run or even serve as president. He went on to claim that Biden only won in 2020 by, quote, "lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement." And Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, echoing that criticism, he posted on X, quote, "Joe Biden has been the worst president in my lifetime, and Kamala Harris has been right there with him every step of the way." And Scott, that is just a few of the comments so far.
A lot coming in. I'm sure we'll see much more throughout the evening. Thank you, Carl. And right here in the district, the president's decision to end his campaign has some immediate consequences. This as we prepare for a big week on Capitol Hill, as well as a visit from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. 7 News reporter Rebecca Turco is live at the White House tonight. Rebecca, what's the mood like out there at this hour?
Well, certainly a variety of opinions out here. Some people, today is bittersweet for them. For others, it's really about time. And the Republicans we've been talking to feel Donald Trump's going to win the presidency no matter what. So certainly a variety of opinions. We're seeing multitudes of signs out here pointing to all those opinions. Some of them thanking the president for his decision. Others essentially wishing him good riddance. This, of course, is a pretty unprecedented situation. Him dropping out just 4 months before Election Day, coming after mounting public pressure. The president saying in a statement he believes this is in the best interest of the party and the country for him to stand down and focus on finishing out his term. No doubt an emotional decision for him and for his staunch supporters tonight.
We all just want it to work out for the best in November. And whichever candidate gives us the best chance to beat Trump, that's what we need to happen. And if Joe has decided that's not him, then we need to, in a big hurry, figure out who does.
And all of this comes ahead of a busy week on Capitol Hill. The Secret Service director is set to testify tomorrow on the assassination attempt of former President Trump. And meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is addressing Congress this week, with the president still isolating with COVID over in his Delaware home. Of course, the big question is who will be meeting with the Prime Minister? Will he be meeting virtually? Will it be the VP? Lots of questions tonight, lots to unpack here, and of course, lots of questions leading up to the Democratic National Convention in just a few weeks. Reporting live from the White House, Rebecca Turco, 7 News.
Countless questions. You were right about that, Rebecca. Coming up on 7 News at 6:30, the fallout continues following the president's history-making decision to end his campaign for re-election. We haven't seen anything like this in more than 50 years. We'll speak to a historian to ask how unusual this move actually is.
You're watching 7 News on your side at 6:30.
Tonight, if you are just joining us, the race for the White House has taken a dramatic turn. President Biden has dropped out, throwing more uncertainty into the already chaotic process. President Biden says he is fully behind Vice President Kamala Harris now taking the top of the ticket. However, there are plenty of other names being mentioned either as the nominee or as a Harris running mate. They range from Secretary Pete Buttigieg to Governors Gavin Newsom or J.B. Pritzker, Gretchen Whitmer, Wes Moore, Josh Shapiro, although he's now throwing his support behind Kamala Harris. Hakeem Jeffries up on the Hill, Dean Phillips as well. Governor Andy Beshear not on that picture, but also being mentioned from Kentucky. So let's bring in Dave Lucas into the conversation now. The biggest question tonight, Dave, my good colleague with all the insight we can muster, is Harris going to easily pick up that torch and run with it, or is there going to be a big melee for that coveted spot? They're down to just weeks before the convention.
Just weeks, 100 days before the election. The amount of time is remarkably short. The thinking is, or at least what I'm hearing at this point, is that the Democratic National Committee will figure out a way to get this done so that there's the nomination. I think where you will likely find a bit of an issue is in who runs as the vice presidential nominee. Now, there is precedent for this. Back in 1968, Lyndon Johnson announced that he wasn't going to run for re-election, and that gave way to a chaotic convention in, of all places, Chicago. And Hubert Humphrey nominated. He lost in the general election. The Democrats want to do everything they possibly can to try and avoid that same scenario this go around.
Dave, the writing really had been on the wall now for some time for Biden to step aside. Does this make it a lot easier for the party to come together?
I think it does make it easier. It is not going to be an easy problem, though. And I think what you will see, too, is a great deal of nostalgia on the floor of that convention when it comes time. And it'll be interesting to me to see if Joe Biden makes an appearance at the Democratic National Convention this year. It would certainly be it wouldn't be a mixed message at all. It would be a sort of a unifying factor. But it would have to, I think, tug at a lot of heartstrings.
Yeah, transitional. And then very quickly, Dave, 15 seconds here. Republicans push for this, but could this backfire?
I'd be careful what you wish for. It might come true. I think they have to completely recalibrate their campaign right now. They were set to run against Joe Biden, and now it looks like it's going to be Kamala Harris.
Dave Lucas, thanks so much for your time on this major breaking news day. We appreciate it.